Well, this is the last week in the month. And we have my good friend, Miron Abramovici. He's a lifelong member of the IEEE. The IEEE is the Institute of Electronic and Electrical Engineers. He was a distinguished member of technical staff at Bell Laboratories. He and I go back several decades, all the way back to the 90s at Bell Laboratories, and we were in the same research department. He taught at Columbia, and he co-founded a startup. He has 18 patents and more than 100 publications. He's a co-author of a textbook entitled Digital System Testing and Testable Design. It's published by the IEEE in 1995. However, there's been a little change, but now he has had a second career as an artist, doing sculpture, photography, and kinetic art. He has many exhibits, and one of his artworks is at the Morris Museum. And this talk will illustrate his unusual journey. So I'm looking forward to hearing from Miron on this journey going from high tech to the artist world.
Thank you, Todd, for the introduction. And I'll talk about my journey. Please feel free to interrupt with questions at any time. Don't ask now about this image. Will come apparent while we'll explain it later. So the high-tech story, I have a degree. I did R&D in computer engineering. As Tad mentioned, I was a distinguished member of technical staff at Bell Labs. I also taught at Columbia, NJIT, and IIT in Chicago. I had several master and PhD students, and I'm co-author of this textbook, Digital System Testing and Testable Design, which was used as a graduate level textbook at all the universities all across the world. And it was a basic textbook in this field for 15 years, which is kind of a record. I also co-founded and I was a CTO at a startup, and I'll talk about this a little later. I have 18 patents, and I was leader of a DARPA project. DARPA, it's a Defense Advanced Research Project Agency of the Department of Defense. And this project involved 2 other universities. And I'm a life fellow of the Institute for Electrical and Electronic Engineers. So, why did I get into art? The first art that I did was photography. And the question why, and it was to avoid depression. It's not funny. What happened, I mentioned the startup before, so after 5 years there, I got into big fights with the CEO and investors, and they got rid of me. It happens quite often in the startup world, but for me it was a big hit because they stole my baby. It was my intellectual baby. I had all the patents, so I was really troubled. So it worked, and more than this, it became a passion. The camera became like an integral part of my body. And what did I do with it? Abstracts, portraits, and surrealism. And I talk about all this, and I had many exhibits and awards. Remember, talking to a guy who has no formal art education. So first about abstracts, it's about patterns and colors. The objects that are photographed doesn't matter too much. They don't matter. What matters it's the patterns. And here is inside of a hotel. It doesn't matter the hotel. It's just the play of the shapes and the patterns. This was abstract was created with a long exposure. So what you see here are leaves floating in the water from here to here and from here to here during the exposure time. And here it's light going on the stairs in a dark room. So abstract is something that you can see in the outside world, but you can also create. So this, it's light going through painted glass and with a lot of modification. Here is no modification, it's just a rusty wall in the water. And here it's a lot of modification. Can anybody try to guess what was the original of this? What? Okay. No, a jellyfish. But it was a lot of modification, and this was selected by the assistant curator of MoMA for an exhibit in Brooklyn. Now, very interesting type of abstract are reflections. And reflections provide alternative reality. I know this is the loaded expression, but this alternative reality has nothing to do with politics. So this is an example. This is a reflection of a sailboat in low tide water in Cape Cod. And you can see the sandbars and the water between them, the boat, the sun, it was at sunset, and the mast of the boat. But all this appears real. The key is not to photograph the object that is reflected, but only its reflection. And of course, the original was upside down because of reflection, so I just flipped it vertically, and now it's a dreamboat. This is even more interesting. If you went to the O'Hare Airport, United Terminal has a light tunnel there. And this is a reflection in the ceiling of the light tunnel, also with long exposure, which transforms this traveler into ghosts. And this is a reflection in a puddle on a beach. Another reflection, again, it's only photographing only the object, that only the reflection of a thing. So this is a reflection of the sky and fall leaves in a lake. And the water was moving slightly, and this created this impressionistic effect. So here is illustration. This was it's 40 by 60 metal print, and it's amazing to see it in real life. It's really impressive. This is bought by a company for their office, and also a Hilton hotel licensed this for their lobby. The coolest type of reflections are infinity reflections. And this is called crazy because it's crazy to believe that I did this with any Photoshop. So these are reflections between two buildings covered in glass in downtown Atlanta. The circular building, it's a Westin, and the flat one, it's a Marriott. and the flat building had the windows at different angles. And this, by the time when Kodak was still Kodak, was selected as Kodak Picture of the Day and projected for a full day in Times Square, and also was selected by another assistant curator of MoMA for another exhibit in Brooklyn. Now I also did the portraits, and this it's after all these years love, and this got the first prize at the Union County Senior Artist Exhibit. I also did modeling, street photography, and people with mental disabilities. But my favorite is the Special Olympics. You know what the Special Olympics are? The kids with physical and mental disability, and it's really impressive. I was a volunteer photographer for the Special Olympics for several years, and it's really amazing to see the team spirit and the effort that they put in. And here is my favorite, the joy of a girl who got the first place in the competition. Speaking of competition, after about half a year after I started, I entered my first competition, and it's quite a prestigious one. American Society of Media Photographers in New Jersey, their fine art photography show. And I enter it, send the image, and after 3 days I get a phone call. Hi, this is so-and-so, president of ASMP New Jersey. You got the first place. This was quite a shock. I told him, are you sure I'm a beginner? And he said, yeah, I'm sure. And this was an image. It's not a flower. It's called Guardian at the Mental Ward, and depicts a nightmare of a mental patient, that it's in this cage-like cell with no exit, and it's always watched by this guardian. Now, interestingly, how I create this surrealistic composition. So first the cell, I had a hurricane lamp cover, and I took the inside view of it with a proper lighting in a dark room with light only from the outside and only the inside view, so that created the cell. And now for the guardian, I had this Yoruba African art statue. Doesn't look exactly like this. So I had a parabolic vase, and I did a reflection in reflection in a parabolic vase, and this created this deformation, and then putting them together created this surrealistic image. So we're talking about surrealism now. And here are other examples. And this is actually my left hand. If you want to check it, it doesn't look quite like this, but both of these got the award in international competition. More surrealism. This is cyborg, again, a lot of components, and my partner thinks that I should call it self-portrait. She thinks that's a lot of similarities here. It's up to you to judge. And this is establishing contact with possible other civilization. So, this about why did I get into sculpture? I kind of reached a plateau in photography, and I wanted and felt a need for a change. And I had a lot of junk in the basement, which I was under enormous pressure to get rid of. So then I create art from junk, from found objects. which is actually an existing form of art. It's not my invention. So here is Mr. Junkie. And here it's a more detailed view of his head. And you can see a lot of found objects. And question is, where do I get all this? And it's amazing how many people throw junk in the woods. So it's I get it for my art and also clean the environment with this. And this is what's selected by the curator at the San Francisco MoMA for an exhibit in Poughkeepsie. Mr. Birborg, funny guy, except that he's being killed. You see the scissors going through his body. And again, a lot of mostly beer cans and similar junk. And this was exhibited in many places, George Segal Gallery in Montclair, New Jersey Visual Arts Center in Summit, and exhibit in West Palm Beach, Florida. Now the golem, that's a full, it's a human-size sculpture. And that's a better view of its upper part. And there is a legend in the Jewish folklore. Was a rabbi in the 16th century Prague that created a being out of mud, gave him the name of the golem, and was basically the first robot. And it did a lot of useful things, but at some point became out of control, any relation to AI, and had to be put down. And the legend is it's still waiting in Prague in a cellar or attic to be revived. And this, my golem, my version of the golem, has a broken cell phone here, and an antenna not quite visible here, and a lot of old radio tubes in here. So he's also waiting to be revived. So a lot of junk was made of. So here it's the tire, and these white things here are buoys, and a lot of other stuff. And this was exhibited at the New Jersey Visual Arts Center in Summit. And this was a one-year project, was a big project, and you can see different activities along the road. Now, kinetic art. How why? Actually, I never started to say I want to create kinetic art. It came by accident, and I started the project based on my two artistic obsessions. One was reflections that I talk about, and the other was with time. And now, what is time? It's a fundamental dimension of our lives, and you convince you about this, if you need conviction, just look at how many words that are using all the time deal with a time. Okay, so I think I convinced you, but now, so we all live with time, but can we logically define it? So if you look in a dictionary, you will find that it's a basic progression of events from the past to the present into the future. But let's analyze this definition. What is the past? It's relating to a time that has gone by. So, a time. What is future? time regarded as still to come. So obviously it's a recursive definition, basically define time in terms of itself, which doesn't make any sense. So this bothers me a lot. It's a fundamental dimension of our life, and we cannot define it. More questions about the time. Is it infinite? Infinite. Can be broken. Can be stopped. Does the world end if the time stops? How clocks and watches, how they look if the time stops? So, the concept now, I want to combine infinity reflections with clocks and watches that are broken and burned to symbolize the cataclysm. So, how to combine this? I want to make a box from mirrors reflecting the time object. So making a box will create infinity reflections. And it's turned out that if the box is shaped like a parallelogram, there are more reflections. It's kind of absurd to talk about more when I'm talking about compared to an infinite number, but think about if the box is rectangular, reflection go only up and down and left and right, but here the reflection have many more angles to go around. The time objects that I want to reflect that I constructed from watches and clocks have been damaged and burned and put together in strange configurations. But I have a box with reflections inside. How to see inside that box? I mean, even if there are beautiful reflections inside, if nobody can see them, it's kind of useless. So the key was to use two-way mirrors. And you have seen two-way mirrors a lot of time. You may not be familiar with the concept. Think about an interrogation room, seen in all kinds of shows and movies. So this mirror here, it's a mirror only from the inside. From outside, it's transparent, and there are observers there that monitor what's going on in the interrogation room. But if you pay attention to this, there is always light in the interrogation room, and the observers are in the dark, because that's how this mirror works. Has to be we need the light inside the box. If I want to make a box like this, and I have to present it only in a dark room. So the concept now evolves. I have a parallelogram-shaped box. Luckily, I have my son-in-law, which helps the construction, because I'm not that good at mechanics. And I have lights inside. I have two-way mirrors. And there are infinity reflection of the time objects. But these reflections are static. Wouldn't it be nice if the things will move? So how to have dynamically changing reflections? Have the time objects move around, so have be attached to motors. And then I also need electronics to drive the motors. So here it's one of these motor that it's attached with the shaft to the time object, and several motors can be attached to this board. And the board gives instruction to the motor like start, stop, turn backwards, turn forward, and what speed to turn. So things are moving now, and therefore we have kinetic art. So this is how the idea of kinetic art came around. So now it would be nice to add some sound to it. I'm talking about the end of the world, so I want an explosion to initiate this. We need sound. And I'd like some eerie music that will start with this big boom and then accompany the movement of the time objects. So need speakers. I need electronics to drive the speakers. So here is a speaker control board, and the speakers can be easily attached to it. And the music, this is a CD player for mini, very small CDs that you can record and put here, and the electronics here basically plays the music and make it go on the speakers. So need to create and record music. Luckily, I had a friend who is a musician and helped me. He's in California, so it was a long distance enterprise trying to together to create music. So I say I want several seconds of this and several seconds of this, and I want a volume increase here and volume. So it was a long process, but we did it. And the final steps are to put all these things together. So here we have this is a motor driver and this is a music player, and connect them to a programmable electronic controller. That's use an Arduino, if that means anything to you. And I have to write C++ software to control and coordinate the rotation of the motor, the music, and the intensity of the lights. Luckily, I knew C++, which is a programming language that I used in my technical career. So this again was a very long project. It took about 1 year to finish it, and here is the result. So there are only two time objects, and all the other are the infinity reflections. It's only 1 minute long, so don't disturb. And you can see the intensity of lights changes with the music, and the rotation also goes along with the music. Okay, so this was accepted in an exhibit at the Morris Museum called The Cache of Kinetic Art and Timeless Movement, and it was there for 3 months, 3 years ago. So this is my biggest accomplishment, to be in a museum. For a guy with no formal art education, I think it's quite an accomplishment. So let's end the talk. If you have any questions?
I've got to ask the obvious question. If time stops, light stops. Oh, if time stops, light stops, everything stops, your art stops. So you're not stopping time, you're using time as another dimension in your art. If it stops, your art disappears.
You're right. Thank you.
Well, I thought you'd come up with some exotic explanation, but it's fascinating what you do.
Thank you.
And it was a great talk and very, we don't usually think about what is time.
If you think, you still cannot define it.
Whoops, there you are.
Let me ask, in your earlier photography work, seems like there must have been a lot of modification, as you called it, that went in. How did you decide what to take a picture of, and then did you usually have to do modifications somehow to get the
Okay, what you know, clicking is a concept very important in photography. And whenever I see something, there is a click in my ear that says, take a photo. And modification, no, some things are straight, they don't require any modification. Some things are better if modified. So it depends on the context.
Thanks again. That was some beautiful stuff that you made. I love your shirt.
That's also my art.
It's also, oh, that's your art?
Yeah.
All right, let's open it up a little bit so we can see it. There we go. The question is, how big was that box that you made?
30 by 30. 30 by 30 by 30. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about the kinetic art. Number one, if it's at the museum, do you always have to have it spinning when visitors are there? And like, do they shut it off at night? And the second question is, what happens in 1,000 years? Who's going to be here to fix the boards or repair something?
The artwork, it's no longer in a museum, was an exhibit there for 3 months. It's no longer there, and I don't have an answer to maintenance taking problem.
I thought one of the interesting things, it was an incredible presentation, Mr. Don. I thought one of the incredible things about the presentation was what came out of your depression. And I'm just wondering if you could explain what that period was like and how you found that photography was something that would bring you, out of your depression.
I was trying different things, and I always enjoy taking picture even before I formally became an artist. So I just started, and things got amplified.
Thank you. Very impressive work there. On the kinetic art and the mirror, the two-way. You said that it's dependent on the lighting, so you had to have light in the box.
It was in a dark area.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's so if it's too bright, you see right through it, or you see nothing at all.
You see, you don't see through it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you.
Very interesting work, quite a bit of imagination shown in almost all of that. But with your kinetic art in the last piece, did you have a concept when you started, or did you just follow your whim?
As I said, didn't start as a concept for a kinetic art. The idea came along the road. So it was I wanted to combine infinity reflection and time. So that was the start, and then the thing was an evolution that I illustrated here.
Again, thank you for your presentation. You obviously had a advanced and challenging technical career, and you've created some very interesting stuff with your art. Did you ever, before you decided to focus on photography, feel like you had creative impulses in you that wanted to come out, needed to be expressed, and this was the opportunity? Do you feel like the technical career that you have has informed the way you approach art? I'm just, I guess, like Bob, I'm interested in that pivot that you made from a scientific career to an art.
Was a gradual thing. I always, was interested in art and going to museum and exhibits, and I always like taking pictures. So, but wasn't a decision let's become an artist. It was a gradual, slow process. What was the second part of your question?
Yeah, so it sounds like you kind of discovered your interest and
Right, it was
your
a self-discovery, yeah,
ability to create art.
yeah.
The second part of the question was, were there elements of your technical career that informed the way you approach art?
Yes, I think so. Because, I couldn't create, for example, the kinetic art without electronics and computer science and programming. So if I'm not sure how to answer the question. The answer is probably yes, but I cannot explicit more clearly.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Ted, would you like to come up and thank our speaker?
Well, thank you, Miron. That was a
Yeah.
great talk, great pictures. And we have a certificate for you. It's a certificate of appreciation. It has a orchid as an emblem. An orchid has basically been picked because it was a flower that was grown in Summit, where the people here traveled the world over to collect orchids. They had over 10,000 different orchids from all over the world. And since they had a great business, we figured we'd put an emblem of an orchid on there. But this is for our appreciation to you, as you can hang this up on your wall. And we have a second way of appreciation. It's the Old Guard salute.
Thank you.
Thank you for your thought.